Good morning. Welcome to CATEX-TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. This is a live broadcast from Princeton, New Jersey. Today is Tuesday, September 22nd, 2009. It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time in the U.S., 4:30 p.m. in London. In Bermuda, it's 12:30, and in Mexico City, it's 10:30 a.m. If you need to reach us today during the broadcast, you can phone in toll-free in the U.S. at 1-866-67-CATEX. Overseas, our AOL instant mail address is CATEX-TV. On this day in history, 14 years ago in 1995, Time Warner bought Turner Broadcasting System for $7.5 billion, and everybody was stunned at the size of that price. That's back when $1 billion actually meant something. Now, just about every deal that goes by seems to be worth that much. Now to our main news. About 2 hours ago, word began to come from Beijing that the Chinese President Hu Jintao is expected to announce today in New York City a sweeping climate change package that some people are thinking may elevate China to a leadership position on climate change. The UN climate chief Ivo de Boer says that it's likely that the proposal will take the form of a suite of voluntary targets for emissions with domestically enforceable measures. De Boer called the plan very ambitious and suggested it will increase pressure on the U.S. to commit to a target. In addition to domestic targets, China also appears poised to launch a voluntary carbon trading system. Yesterday, the China-Beijing Environmental Exchange announced that it would create a Chinese carbon standard, dubbed the Panda Standard. It plans to release more detail today. 100 world leaders are meeting today in New York for the first ever climate summit, or the Summit on Climate Change. President Obama completed his speech a few minutes ago, warning of irreversible damage to the world unless action was taken. In some other news, down in South Africa, the American government has temporarily closed its government facilities and embassy, including this facility, which looks like Fort Knox. This is the American embassy in the capital in Pretoria. This after a possible threat to its embassy. The Johannesburg consulate was also closed. The State Department says as a precaution, we're closing the embassy for 1 day and notifying the American community in South Africa to maintain vigilance. They had no further details on the possible threat to the embassy. In the U.S., there's a high terror alert on mass transit facilities, mainly due to this man. This man was arrested the other day. He is Naji Zazi, a 24-year-old Afghanistan-born immigrant. He's a shuttle driver at the airport in Denver. Apparently, he may have been planning with others to detonate backpack bombs on New York City subway trains, similar to what happened in London and Madrid. This investigation has caused officials to warn mass transit systems around the United States to step up patrol. More than half dozen individuals are being scrutinized in this plot. The FBI is saying that several people in the U.S. and Pakistan are being investigated. And more on this as it comes out. In the southeastern United States, more rain is turning highways and creeks into gushing waterways. Here's a picture of a highway outside of Atlanta. 20 inches of rain was dropped in some area. At least 6 people are dead. Probably more will be found. According to a meteorologist, he said the rain that fell has no place to go. The saturated soils made the situation worse. Floodwaters drowned a 2-year-old boy sweeping in from his father's arms. Many people died after scrambling onto the rooftops of cars in some of the lower level areas of Atlanta. 2 people are missing in Tennessee. One moron in Tennessee went swimming in an overflowing ditch on a $5 dare. He never returned. 12,000 Georgia power customers were without power late last night. The northern section of Georgia has experienced historic amounts of rain, well in excess of a so-called 100-year event. The downpours just kept coming after months of the region coming out of a 2-year drought. More rain is forecast today. And down in Australia, severe weather warnings were issued today. This is the capital of Canberra under the force of a gale-force dust storm. All states and territories were placed on high alert by the Weather Bureau. People have been warned to stay indoors and away from windows as a series of wild thunderstorms closed in. The weather map that we looked at shows the storms moving very quickly across the eastern part of the country and the southeastern region. Dust clouds have been whipped up by high winds in New South Wales and in South Australia. As we saw, Canberra has visibility akin to thick fog. Several inches of hailstones have already fallen in many areas, and flash floods are now expected in some parts of Victoria. The American stock market is up about 29 points right now. We'll go to a word now from our sponsors. Just noticing that AIG is up about 7% now. They're up $3.45. They're trading at about $51.85. Well, it looks as if Moody's is going to attend the NAIC meeting in Baltimore on Thursday after all. This after the NAIC regulators threatened to stop using Moody's ratings. That'll do it. Standard & Poor's, Fitch, and DBRS are going to speak at the meeting, but Moody's had declined. Two members of the committee then suggested that Moody's could be taken off the U.S. regulator's acceptable ratings organization list. The New York insurance superintendent, Jim Rinn, co-chair of the NAIC's rating agency working group, said, "Correcting the mistakes that led to the financial crisis is in everyone's interest, and insurance regulators will benefit from the ratings agency's insight." Reuters then quoted Moody's as saying, "We maintain an ongoing dialogue with the NAIC and will attend the September 24th NAIC meeting." After all, they didn't say that. That was my editorializing. Some news coming out of London that Marsh has announced that Nick Bacon, currently Chief Operating Officer, is to become Chief Executive of Bullring Marsh. Bullring Marsh is Marsh's specialist international placement broker. He's going to succeed Mark Gregory. We'll talk about Gregory in a minute. Bacon will report to Alex Mozarski, who is the Chief Executive of Marsh International. He's going to start his new responsibilities on November 1. And this is no surprise, but Marsh Mac said that it has extended its President and CEO Brian Duperreaux's contract. Mr. Duperreaux is paid the paltry sum of $1 million a year, and I say that intentionally. He deserves much more for the work he's done there. Mr. Duperreaux was named CEO back in January of 2008. The contract extension up to 2014 will allow him to bring the initiatives he's already begun through to completion, according to the company. Under the original contract, his employment was going to expire at the end of January in 2011. The company also says that in addition to keeping Mr. Duperreaux on longer, the new agreement intends to give an orderly transition to a successor, if a successor is identified prior to the end of his employment. And we congratulate Mr. Duperreaux. He's one of the true heroes of this industry. We promised some news on Mark Gregory. The outgoing CEO of Bullring Marsh is going to become the CEO of Axis Global Specialty Lines Division. Gregory will in turn replace